Tableau, Power BI, what are the most important interview related questions? The first is, how do we choose the right chart type? It's very important to understand what chart type gets used for what purpose. Whenever we have set of categories and a number, like for example north, south, east, west, and some numbers related to those, we make use of bar chart. Whenever we want to understand the distribution of a set of numbers, like let's say we have 10, 15, 20, 30, 17, 26, 23, 44, we want to understand what is the distribution of that particular numerical series, but we do not have any category to those. In that case, we make use of histogram or box plot. Whenever we want to understand the relationship between two numerical variables, we make use of scatter plot. And whenever we have anything like um, a time period on one side and a number on the other side, we make use of the line chart. When it comes to pie chart, whatever we give in the bar chart, that same data can be given to a pie chart also. But in the pie chart, we see the distribution out of the whole, unlike the bar chart. Moreover, if we have too many slices, the whole purpose of pie chart is lost. So we should always see what the viewer needs to understand. Depending upon that, we should pick the appropriate chart. So whenever it is comparing categories, bar chart or pie chart can also be used, but pie chart shows us the proportion of a whole. Whenever it is to show trend over time, it is the line chart. To show distribution of a numerical variable, histogram or box plot, and to show relationship, it is the scatter plot. As we just discussed, the difference between bar chart and histogram. Bar chart is used for categorical data, example sales by region, and there the bars are typically separated. In a histogram, it is to see the distribution of a continuous variable grouped into bins. Like for example, if I have numbers 17, 23, 44, 96, and so on, I would divide them into bins and then see their distribution. When do we use a scatter plot? Scatter plot is used when we have two numerical variables, one towards the x and towards the y. So let's say if we want to understand the relationship of um, height versus weight, and we want to see the correlation, if it is positively correlated or negatively correlated. One another very important thing is, let's say if the two quantities are increasing together or decreasing together, it is termed as positive correlation. And if the one quantity is increasing and one quantity is decreasing, it is termed as negative correlation. So here we can also add a trend line, uh, which will indicate further more insights. What makes a good dashboard design? First of all, a dashboard should not be cluttered. We should try to put some key numbers, some more information wherever needed. We should try to group related metrics together and also keep a consistent color scheme. Consistent color scheme, let's say if blue is if region west is indicated by green, in every chart it should be indicated by green only. We should group related visuals together, and every chart should help me to drive a decision. What is the concept of data ink ratio? Now, data ink ratio indicates how much of data is actually being conveyed versus the decoration. Now, data ink, if I have a good data ink ratio, it will help to avoid unnecessary lines, 3D effects, borders, redundant labels. So it's basically like how much of information is being conveyed, but without too much of decoration. The chart, it should not be heavily decorated that it loses the purpose, and that's a good chart, and that will have a good high data ink ratio. So the goal is to maximize the data that the viewer absorbs per unit of visual clutter. So instead of giving too much of visual clutter, Instead of that, we can just convey simple information in a simple way. So 3D effects, heavy borders, all these are to be avoided. A very important question. What is a box plot and what does it show? A box plot basically helps to understand the distribution of a numerical variable. Now here, a typical box plot looks like this. There is the median, there is the Q1, Q3, the minimum and the maximum value. Now, whenever I want to understand the outliers depending upon the box plot, it means that I am computing the value on the left and the value on the right, and anything beyond to this left and anything beyond to this right will be taken as the outliers. Now, what is this? This value will be nothing but Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR, and this value is nothing but Q1 plus Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR, where IQR is the interquartile range. Any value that comes to less than Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR and Q3 plus more than Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR is taken as the outliers. So here Q1 to Q3 is the middle 50% of the data. Point beyond the whiskers is taken as the outliers, uh, uh, where the whiskers is not indicating the minimum and this is not indicating the maximum. This is this is to show outliers. So here actually if we see, my minimum is going to be somewhere here because this outlier is also part of the distribution. Here also my maximum would lie over here because this outlier is also part of the distribution. But here what are these boundaries indicating? These boundaries are indicating Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR, Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR, because this is my outliers limit. Anything less or more will indicate outliers. Oh, to indicate trends over time, I can make use of bar chart like this, or I can also make use of a line chart. See, if I take the middle point and plot like this, even that is indicating without the bars, then it becomes a bar chart because it has numbers on one side and a time period on the other side. I can also consider moving average, uh, and I can also perform seasonal analysis on this. What is a heat map used for? A heat map is used to indicate uh, correlation between two variables. Now here, if I have two dimensions, what is the correlation between the two? So it is indicated by medium, high or low. So there is a color intensity that is being indicated. So this indicates low correlation, this indicates high correlation and medium correlation. Tableau versus Power BI. Now, Tableau and Power BI have almost similar purposes. Power BI is comes integrated with Microsoft tools, and it also comes integrated with Excel, Azure, and Office because it is with Microsoft. Tableau, on the other hand, it has good visual flexibility, but it is standalone and it comes at a typically higher cost. When we use data visualization, first is to use the right type of charts. Then we should understand what kind of information has to be displayed where. We cannot use overuse charts, that is just to clutter. We cannot overuse charts. it, Basically this visualization technique is a good means of storytelling. So in case if we can depict our charts such that they are addressing the problem, they are indicating what information is leading to what another information, and when we delve deeper into the second set of information, what another uh, you know insights do we get from those visualization. It's more of a storytelling medium through pictures, where we try to interrogate any underlying problem. Let's say if we have a problem of late deliveries, so what is actually happening so that uh, it is leading to late deliveries. So we can understand insights like what percentage of the deliveries late deliveries are through restaurants, or is it through delivery persons, and if it is by, let's say for example, by delivery persons, how we can mitigate the problem. Let's say if we try to implement a particular strategy, then we lead to another chart indicating, if we try to implement one strategy, then this is the output, that this is the following result of, or the following expected late deliveries. So like this we can try to visualize that. How can we present findings to a non-technical stakeholder? So for a non-technical stakeholder, for them what is important is what happened rather than how it happened. So, and we should try to avoid use plain language. Statistical jargon has to be avoided, and wherever possible we should translate the numbers into business impact. Instead of just telling 500 deliveries are late, instead of that, if we can just translate it to business impact, 2% or maybe like 40% of the deliveries are late, depending. So now for one, for a particular business 500 would mean a small number, but for another it would mean a larger number. Rather than that, if we can just account of what is the percentage, it will help everyone to be on the same page. And we should try to use familiar chart types and familiar tools, familiar information, rather than using too many technical aspects. uh, Please watch out the space for more technical interview series questions.